Hello fellow duelists and collectors. Today I'm going to be showcasing my fun Synchro deck, which is mainly like a beginner Synchro deck that is a callback to back when that was like one of my original decks. A big one because I got back into it when Synchros came out and that was pretty awesome. Back at you with another eyesore of a playmat. I'm glad that you're tuning in to see this because I'm sure that's what you wanted to see from a duelist profile video. We'll get right into it. I'll show you the monsters in the extra deck, or the deck, then the extra deck. There's only like 3 traps in here, so it's mostly monsters and spells. Fusilier, the dual mode beast, he's a good instant summon if you need that, or a beat stick if you can summon him that way. Parry Knights, because this is just like a staple for decks, which can be like hand defense sort of thing going on, which can be helpful in tight spots because you're probably going to have that with a deck that isn't like super up to par, but it can be a useful staple in almost any deck. One Road Synchron, because it is also a Synchron deck a little bit. It just has random Synchrons in it to help it. 3 Goblinberg, because it gets that extra summon with it. 1 Dark Resonator, it's sort of a call to Jack Atlas, and also it's a decently good tuner monster, so I threw that in there. And it's 3-star, and that's pretty helpful actually. 3 Marauding Captain, because like Goblinberg, it summons another monster with it, level 4 or lower, but also it has the effect added bonus that if there's another warrior on or it can be the only monster attacked on the field while it's on the field, and if you have 2 of them, that's a great defense. Quickspan Knight, because it's a decent tuner. What does it do again? It's the... Right, yeah, your opponent's monster loses 500 attack when it's used for a Synchro summon. Neutrio Cosmo Beat, Right, when your opponent normal summons or sets a monster, you can special summon from your hand, so that's a decent like protection card. Summoner Monk, because that's also another staple that can be used in any deck, but it brings out a monster from your deck by getting rid of a spell, and this deck is mostly spells and monsters, so that's obviously very useful. 1 Quillbolt, I would probably have 3 ideally, but I think I only had 1 for this, so that's why I'm only using 1. Shiba Warrior Tarot, because that was Kazuki's design and I'm sort of doing it as a call to him, and it's a decent tuner monster too. 1 Quick Draw Synchron, because it can summon any Synchron monster from the Synchro deck and it adds a lot of variety here. Fortress Warrior, because it doesn't take damage, and also I think it's twice per turn it can't be destroyed by battle or something like that. It's pretty good. 1 Card Trooper, because it gives you that extra draw, and also you can send cards to the grave, which can be helpful in this deck. 1 Attack Defense Changer, 2 Battle Faders, and a Cyber Valley, which are all for the protection aspect, and they're all 1-star monsters, which can be helpful. Turbo Booster gives you that extra summon, an extra star if you need it for a Synchro summon. For the spells, we have Scapegoats, which are, very standard and getting a lot of more hype nowadays because it's like the best token summoning card, I guess. 1 for 1, because there's a lot of level 1s. Nobleman of Extermination, because it could be like an MST or a Twin Twister if you have like better cards, but I actually chose this over MST because I like the fact that it can banish multiple copies of a card in your opponent's deck. Monster Gate, because there's literally every monster in this deck can be normal summon, so it works for any monster, so that's pretty good. Brain Control, very standard to take control of your opponent's monsters. Rhoda, there's a majority of warriors in this too, so it's like very helpful. Rhoda lets you add a lot of things. Back to Square One, to just like freeze, shut down your opponent, make them redo turns, which can be super helpful. Gravity Lash and Shrink, and Burden of the Mighty, which are all just hindering your opponent's attack power, which is pretty helpful in this deck because you have a lot of weak monsters and a few strong ones, and you need to be able to secure those. Hammer Shot, for generally with the weak monsters, your opponents will be stronger. Fisher, just because one of your opponent's monsters destroyed, so with no cost, so that's pretty good. Nightmare Steel Cage for protection again, and then Call the Haunted, Limit Reverse, and Graceful Revival. You could have any variations of these. You could have 3 Call the Haunted or 3 Limit Reverse. I wouldn't recommend 3 Graceful Revival because there's not that many 2-stars, but it is still a helpful card. And then we have the extra deck. We have the Double X Saber Gotems, which doesn't necessarily need non-tuners at all. It just needs earth monsters, which there are a decent amount of in here, and you can definitely summon it. Hyper Psychic Blaster, which you actually, you're wondering why you can summon that because there's no psychics, but you summon Psychic Life Transfer first and then tune it with a 2-star. You can summon Hyper Psychic Blaster. It's a strategy I've used for a long time actually, and can be useful and helpful. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend for destruction of your opponent's stuff. Road Warrior, it summons some stuff from the deck, but it's not really necessary in this, but I just have it because it's helpful. Colossal Fighter, a tribute to the old days when that was like one of the first Synchro monsters, and it was super cool, and everyone was like, wow. Light Gazer isn't really necessary either, but he's another 8-star staple that can be used in any deck, and he's good against one type, so that's good. Or one attribute, rather, sorry. Nitro Synchron for his attack power, and because Quick Draw Synchron summons him pretty nicely. Sorry about that. Scrap Archfiend because it's a staple 7-star with a good attack power, so that's good. Psychic Life Transfer, you already understand why that's there. X-Saber or Bellum, it's got a good effect, you know, if it gets the attack through, it makes your opponent discard a card, but otherwise it's another staple 7 that's just in there. Gaia, Ninth Force of Earth, staple 6-star, good attack, easily replaceable by Goyo Guardian. Turbo Warrior for just that extra in case you're going against Synchros, helpful, and or another 6-star that's summonable. Flamboyant Quizis is a good staple, and if you got a lot of hidden arsenal packs back in the day, you know you probably have a decent amount of them, so it really works in like any deck, and it's decent to have. And then just 2 essentially staple 4-stars, which can be helpful. Armory Arm, I think, you know, is better for that equip 1000 attack point bonus, but they're both helpful cards. And that is going to do it for this deck profile. I hope you liked watching. If you did, please give me a like. If you want to see more of this trashy playmat, subscribe. Thank you.